Number 1.
Hamblen was last seen in the Trailside Loop area in southern Anchorage, Alaska on October 11, 2014. She and her roommate, Kendra Vincent Estrada, went out to dinner together and returned home before 10 p.m. Estrada's children and Hamblen's infant son were being babysat by Estrada's mother at the time. Hamblen was thinking of going out again, but her roommate went to bed. That night, Hamblen was upset because a man she was interested in had rejected her. She texted a male friend at 1:40 a.m. saying she was crying and wanted to get together with him, and she exchanged text messages with another man shortly after 3 a.m. This is the last time anyone heard from her. Estrada texted Hamblen the next day at 10:32 a.m. and Hamblen didn't respond. At noon, Estrada knocked on her door and discovered she was gone, and the bed was unmade. She had taken her person's cellular phone with her, but left her vehicle, a 1998 Ford Expedition with the Alaska license plate GFB 641, parked in the driveway. She didn't have a driver's license, but did have a learner's permit. Estrada initially assumed Hamblen had gone out the night before and stayed out all night, or left home early in the morning. She texted her twice during the afternoon, but got no response and calls to her phone went straight to voicemail. Hamblen has never been heard from again. A later analysis of her phone showed that neither of Estrada's text messages on October 12 were received, meaning Hamblen's phone was either turned off or the battery had died. She was reported missing by her mother on October 14. In March 2015, hikers found Hamblen's black purse buried in the snow along a trail in Chugach, Alaska, and turned it into the police. Inside it was her social security card and her iPhone 5. Authorities don't believe Hamblen placed it there herself. The weather on the night she disappeared was below freezing, and she didn't enjoy hiking. Hamblen was born in Washington state and spent the first 14 months of her life in foster care before being adopted. She was raised here in Wasilla, Alaska, and she also spent time in Washington with her father after her parents divorced. Growing up, she struggled with cognitive, social, and developmental delays, and she was eventually diagnosed with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Hamblen's mother stated she began rebelling in her early teens, dropped out of high school and ran away from home for the first time at age 17. However, her family stated the birth of her son gave her purpose in life and led her to become a more responsible person, and they don't believe she would have abandoned him. Her mother filed for custody shortly after Hamblen's disappearance and is now raising the boy. Authorities are investigating Hamblen's case as a possible homicide. It remains unsolved.
Number 2.
In late November 2014, Jasmine, a Texas Woman's University honor roll student, went to visit a friend in Detroit, Michigan. She disappeared December 4, 2014, at approximately 7:30 p.m., leaving her friend's home around the 3700 block of Baldwin. This location is situated in the Van Dyke and Mack area of Detroit. Her disappearance has baffled police, and her family is convinced foul play is involved. According to a Detroit Fox 2 report, mystery of what happened to Jasmine Moody continues 1 year later. Private investigator Scott Lewis said, "It was a December night, it was cold outside, 7:30 at night." Lewis was hired by Moody's family in a desperate search to find her. Jasmine left the home with no tablet, no telephone, no money, no credit card, dressed in a sweatshirt. And she's never been seen again, Lewis added. Moody was wearing a white hoodie with a burgundy University of Texas logo on the front and blue jeans. "I thought she went for a walk. I went for a walk to grab a cigarette and came back, but Jasmine didn't," her friend Brittany Gurley told Detroit News. "I don't know anything. I went searching myself and came up with literally nothing," she said. During mid-2014, while living in Texas, Jasmine had pursued an internet relationship with Brittany Gurley, who lived in Detroit. She decided to travel to Gurley to spend the Thanksgiving holiday, arriving on November 25. She had visited Gurley at her East Side residence in Detroit several times before. The girls had met on Twitter and had a romantic relationship for approximately 2 years. Moody was scheduled to return to Texas December 5. Gurley stated she and Moody got into a fight over a Facebook post. She continues on claiming Moody stormed out of the house. Gurley went out for a cigarette, and when she returned several minutes later, Moody was gone. The following day, Moody's mother Felissa Nichols desperately tried calling Moody, but there was no answer. The calls became more frantic as Nichols talked to her daughter every day on the phone. Moody's mother did not know her daughter was missing until a week later because Gurley and her family never called her to inform her of the incident. Nichols believes Gurley knows more than she has told police. In November 2015, Moody's mother, along with Moody's stepfather Patrick Kidd, went to Detroit and joined volunteers who searched a mile radius around the location where Moody was last seen, hoping someone would come forward with information. "It's been a year," said Kidd, Jasmine's stepfather. "I haven't heard her voice. I don't know if she is alive or if she is dead." Morton is not alone in her assumption Gurley is hiding information about Moody's disappearance. When Fox 2 Detroit News asked a volunteer, Chelsea Morton, if they felt Gurley had something to do with Moody's disappearance, she responded, "Of course. How could she just walk out in the cold? No shoes, no phone, no nothing." "Someone knows," said Malik Shabazz, a community activist. "I believe the people in that house right there," as he pointed to Brittany Gurley's family's home. Moody's family petitioned Michigan Governor Rick Snyder on Change.org. "I want Michigan State Police to investigate more on Brittany and her family, demanding police conduct a full and complete investigation and interrogation of Brittany." Moody is described as a stable young lady by her parents. During an interview with Tamara Thompson of Real Talk with Tamara, Nichols was asked if she felt her daughter's disappearance is suspicious. I do feel it was suspicious. If she was the type who ran away or disappeared from time to time, I might not be as worried as I am right now. But that doesn't describe her at all. So, with that being said, it is suspicious," said Nichols. Nichols and her daughter spoke every day on the phone. "This is just not right. I know something is just not right," Nichols said. Days pass, months, now years, for a mother desperate to know what happened to her daughter. Moody's phone, laptop and everything she had with her was found at the home of Gurley. "Jasmine would go nowhere without her phone," said Nichols. Her mother had discouraged her from traveling to Detroit, telling her daughter she had a bad feeling. Moody responded, "Mom, you are so dramatic." According to family, Moody knew no one else in Detroit and would have felt uncomfortable alone. Therefore, she would not have left on foot. It has now been 3 years without hearing her daughter's voice. "It just hurts me to know somewhere out there knows something, and people can be so cruel and sleep at night and know someone is hurting over their loved one," said Nichols. "I know something has happened to her." Gurley's friends and her family have not cooperated with police, according to Nichols. In fact, when Nichols called and spoke to Gurley's mother to ask what happened with her daughter the night Moody disappeared, Nichols believes their stories sounded rehearsed. "Somebody did something. Her mother knows something," said Nichols. "This has gone on way too long." Nichols describes a very close relationship with her daughter and having a very disturbing experience the night Moody vanished. While sleeping, the night of December 4th, Nichols suddenly awoke and heard her daughter's voice say, "Help me, Mama." The following day she couldn't dismiss the feeling and arrived at work with tears in her eyes. She called her daughter's phone. No answer. Nichols describes that day beginning a 3-year nightmare and turning her entire life upside down. Nichols claims, in the beginning, the detectives from the Detroit Police Department did not stay in touch regarding the case. No updates, no return calls, and they had not even entered Moody's information into the FBI National Crime Information Center (NCIC) correctly. Since then, a new detective was assigned who calls to check in and has been very responsive, making each passing day not knowing a little easier. A young black woman goes missing. Where is the national media attention? Moody's disappearance generated some local media attention initially. However, no mention on national news. Families of African American missing feel the disparity and claims it is nothing new. With the help of Black and Missing, a Washington, D.C. nonprofit, Moody was profiled in the November 2015 issue of Essence magazine, Bring Her Home for the Holidays, Jasmine Moody. In comparison to other missing person cases such as Natalie Holloway, Chandra Levy, and Lacey Peterson, the news media coverage has been minimal. Black and Missing Foundation works with the families of the missing, media, and law enforcement nationwide to ensure equal attention and resources are available to every Black missing adult and child. The nonprofit has become well known for addressing the disproportionate amount of media attention and cited in hundreds of articles throughout the United States. According to statistics on the Black and Missing website, as of 2011, there were 692,944 entries of missing persons in the FBI's NCIC system. Of that, 33% were Black missing persons, totaling 229,736. There is a $2,500 reward offered for information leading to the whereabouts of Jasmine Moody and the prosecution of anyone involved in her disappearance. If anyone has information about the whereabouts of Jasmine Moody, please call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP.
Number 3.
The disappearance of Kierra Stubbs has become a cold case. Then 23, the young mother of two was last seen on April 24, 2014. On that day she arrived at a now-closed Boost Mobile store on 3rd Avenue West in Birmingham to meet a man who was supposed to repair the brakes on her car. I didn't know him personally, but Kierra knew him from coming up to her job, Kierra's grandmother Ora Stubbs said. From what Kierra said, he seemed like a nice person, and he needed someone to help with his kids' hair and stuff, and she was like, yeah, I got a daughter, I can do their hair. He seemed nice at the time. Although Kierra Stubbs knew the man, her grandmother said, he wasn't a boyfriend or nothing like that. It's just somebody she thought was an older guy who was nice. She was helping him, and he would return the favor by doing her car. And she went with him to meet him that day. Birmingham police said that man is a person of interest. But Detective Rodney Rogers, who is one of the original investigators in Kierra Stubbs' disappearance, said they have not publicly released the person of interest's name. Rogers said, that's mainly because she got into this car with this person only. So it's no witnesses to say what happened in the car, where did they go, or anything like that. So that's why we need the public to go back to that day and see if they remember anything or saw anything. Saw them go anywhere, something that could give us a letter somewhere to start. The status of the investigation has been a source of frustration for the family of Kierra Stubbs. I just wish the police were more involved from the start. If they had been more involved from the start, we could have gotten some answers and some closure. How can y'all just sweep this under the rug? Detective Rodney Rogers, who is no longer investigating this case, said, we haven't forgotten. The Birmingham Police Department has still been working on the case. We are still trying to get new leads. I just want to let them know we are still looking at, even though I'm not working on the case, our cold case detective is very capable. He's looking at it, and we're not going to stop until we get some closure. Homicide detective Jonathan Ross just got the case a few months ago as a cold case. He said, I have to have a lot of patience at this point, and I know it's tough on the family to wait this long or even longer. But my job is just to sit back and wait until someone notifies me either by phone or come into the headquarters to talk or hitting us on Facebook or going through Crime Stoppers. It doesn't matter, as long as I can get that input from somebody, because somebody saw something. They may not remember it that particular day, but since we're airing it again it may jog their memory, and that could help us on this case. Especially for the family. Kierra Stubbs said, "It's so hard for me to wrap my mind around what happened. I don't want to say he killed her. I just want to have faith, to say maybe he's holding her somewhere or maybe he sold her." Kierra Stubbs was last seen heading towards Bessemer on the 3rd Avenue West near Princeton Parkway. Detective Rodney Rogers said, "The public can help us by remembering that day. If they saw Ms. Stubbs, she got into a burgundy Chrysler 200. If anyone remembers her with a black gentleman older, possibly in his 50s, if anyone remembers seeing them together, that would help us out. If you can help find Kierra Stubbs, call Birmingham Police Detective Jonathan Ross at 205-254-1764 or 205-504-0008.
Number 4.
An Indiana teenager with Butler County ties remains missing more than 5 years after she vanished, but her family isn't giving up. New Year's Eve 2014 was supposed to be a night of celebration for Marina Boelter. Her loved ones say it's the last day she was seen alive. You think of a new year as a fresh start. For us, that's not how it goes, Ashley Boelter, Marina's sister-in-law, said. Thanksgiving comes, and she's not there. Christmas comes, and she's not there. Indiana State Police said the 18-year-old vanished after leaving the Bloomfield, Indiana IGA where she worked. Boelter's ex-boyfriend, who was also the father of her child, was in the parking lot at the time, according to Ashley. He told investigators he saw Boelter get into a car with another man who was supposed to take her home. Boelter had plans to attend a New Year's Eve party that night, but she never made it there. Her belongings were not disturbed. Her purse was not at the house, Ashley said. Her phone, her keys, like all those things, were not at home. It's like it was exactly the way she left it when she left. Although Boelter lived in Greene County, Indiana when she disappeared, her relatives said she grew up in Hamilton, which is why searches and vigils were held in Hamilton in 2015. She didn't deserve this. Whatever happened, she was a good person, Ashley said. She was a mom. She was a sister, a daughter, a granddaughter, a niece. At one point, police announced they had a person of interest in the case, although so far, no one has been arrested. Boelter's ex-boyfriend died during a confrontation, Ashley said, a month after Boelter was reported missing. Ashley said she currently lives in Nevada, but runs the Find Marina Boelter Facebook page. She says she is now using it to shine a fresh spotlight on Boelter's case, urging anyone who may know something to do something about it. People are willing to help, especially if they don't have touch anything. You know what I mean, like they're willing to help if all it is the click of a button, Ashley said. I don't want it to be 20 years. I don't want it to be 10 years. We need to know now what happened. Ashley says she asked the Midwest chapter of Texas EquuSearch to help with search efforts back in 2015, but investigators were not on board at the time. The organization's director Dave Rader said that if police change their mind, he and his team would be happy to put together a search in the near future. Indiana State Police say there have been no tips in recent months, and all leads have been checked into and cleared. A spokesperson says there are currently no plans to work with any search teams due to a lack of information.
Number 5.
It was 4 a.m. when a neighbor of 33-year-old Nefertiri Trader peeked out of their second-story bedroom window and saw a man lugging and placing her into the back seat of her 2000 silver Acura Delaware license plate 404,893. The man was wearing tan shorts and a dark hooded sweatshirt. That neighbor later told police that they assumed that Nefertiri was ill and the man was getting her into the car to take her to the hospital. That was June 30, 2014. Nefertiri has never been seen or heard from since. Note to my neighbors, or should I say, any and everybody, if you see someone dragging me from my home and throwing me into a vehicle before speeding off, please call the police. Please. Without hesitation. Meanwhile, Nefertiri's mother, Denise Trader, was beginning to worry after multiple calls to Nefertiri were going unanswered. Denise sent Nefertiri's cousin to her daughter's home, and the relative found a pack of Newport cigarettes and an untouched cup of coffee on a chair on the porch, along with an unopened condom. A loaf of bread laid in the front lawn that looked as if it had been stomped on, and near her front door were her flip-flops, one right next to the other. Detectives pieced together that the mother of three, whose children were between the ages of 7 and 17 when she was kidnapped, was abducted from her home, obviously, but there are unanswered questions still looming 4 years later. Who was it? Why was Nefertiri targeted? Where was she taken? Was it someone she knew? Is she still alive? An investigation revealed Nefertiri didn't have a sketchy background, and there was nothing that pointed to any nefarious characters in her life. Detective Matthew DeSabatino described her as a good and decent person. For her to disappear in the manner that she did is unacceptable to us as a police department, he said. Denise is still holding out hope that her eldest daughter is alive. She searches supermarkets thinking that Nefertiri is still in the area. I've heard that some girl has been spotted in ShopRite over on South Market Street, she said. Some girl who resembles her has been spotted over there. Nefertiri Trader stands at 5'63" tall and weighed 125 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She has brown hair, brown eyes, and a scar on her left leg. She has tattoos on her right chest, left arm and lower back. She was last seen wearing a pink sweatsuit. Nefertiri goes by her nickname Neffy. I'm asking whoever has her, how would they feel if someone took them and kept them away from their family? Denise asked. I'm just keeping the faith that whoever abducted her, God will soften their heart, she said. Her kids need her. That would be the best birthday present ever. Anyone with information concerning Nefertiri's whereabouts is urged to contact the Newcastle Police Department at 302-395-8110 or the Delaware Crime Stoppers at 800-TIP-3333. Please share this story regarding the 2014 abduction of Nefertiri Trader to continue the conversation about her missing person case. She is our sister and her life matters.
Number 6.
Relisha lived in Washington, D.C. with her mother, stepfather, and 2 other brothers. At the time of her disappearance, the girl was 8 years old. Known to be a happy and kind child, Relisha loved going to school, was very involved in extracurricular activities, and was described as a very intelligent child by her teachers. Despite this, the child's family life was not easy at all. Along with her mother, Shamika Young, and brothers, Relisha was evicted from her home at least 3 times for not being able to pay the rent. People who knew her said the girl was often seen in dirty clothes, hungry and often even injured. The Guardianship Council had already been called at least twice, but nothing was ever done. And there are rumors that Shamika was a drug user and extremely neglectful of her children. After several eviction orders, and with no money even for food, Shamika and her children moved into a local shelter. The institution was known for frequenting drug users, neglecting episodes of violence, and having no control over the residents. Relisha fazia de tudo para passar o maior tempo possível fora de casa. A garota, Kaysan Hava Relisha did everything she could to spend as much time away from home as possible. The girl, who dreamed of being a model, even pretended an asthmatic symptom to stay longer in the house of Ashley, her aunt on the mother's side. The aunt, on the other hand, did not have better financial conditions, but had a house and offered love to the girl and her brothers. Khalil Tatum, 51, was the janitor of the DC General Shelter. He was well liked by everyone, charismatic and cheerful. He had a good relationship with everyone who lived there. The man initially began a friendship with Shamika and soon after became close to her children and especially to Relisha. The two spent a lot of time together. He took her to the mall, bought clothes and toys, and once the girl spent 3 weeks at his house. This fact shocks, because the mother didn't even call to check if her daughter was okay. As time went by, Tatum became closer and closer to the girl. He was even introduced by Shamika to her aunt and grandmother as Relisha's godfather. In March 2014, Relisha, who loved going to school, started missing several days in a row without any excuse. The school contacted the mother, who said that the girl was in treatment with a doctor named Dr. Tatum. After the school's insistence, Shamika gave the phone number of the doctor, reaffirming that everything was fine. Initially, the school believed the mother's version, but as the days passed and the students' absences, the school board decided to call the number provided. On March 10, the school makes contact with the doctor. Tatum, he identifies himself as a doctor and says Relisha is at the end of a neurological treatment and will soon return to school activities. The school then asked documents proving it to be sent to justify the faults. The man agreed to send, but these documents were never sent. After the 10th day of absence, the school notifies the guardianship council, which decides to schedule a meeting with the doctor, but without success. On March 19, social workers visit the shelter in search of Relisha. Collecting information from the residents, the guardianship council discovers Dr. Tatum is in fact Khalil Tatum, the janitor. The police were called. Shamika gave a statement saying Relisha was traveling with Tatum on a medical conference and again everything was fine. By that time, police had already raised Khalil's past, arrested twice for robbery, theft and break-in. In one of the times he was in prison, he served 10 years. Police searches revealed Tatum and Rudd were caught on camera walking down a hallway at a Holiday Inn Express in Northeast Washington, D.C. on February 26. And footage on March 1 showed her walking with Tatum to a hotel room. The March 1 footage proved to be the last proof that Relisha was still alive. Tatum's wife, Andrea, was found shot in the head at a motel in Prince George's County, Maryland, in the same day Relisha was reported missing, March 20. Surveillance tapes showed Khalil and Andrea Tatum entering the hotel room the night before. The police obtained an arrest warrant for Khalil Tatum for the murder of his wife. But on March 31, Tatum's body was found in a shed in Kenilworth Park, a place where he was often seen walking with Relisha. Probably his death was a suicide, with the same gun that killed his wife. The police obtained an arrest warrant for Khalil Tatum for the murder of his wife. But on March 31, Tatum's body was found in a shed in Kenilworth Park, a place where he was often seen walking with Relisha. Probably his death was a suicide, with the same gun that killed his wife. In October 2017, Relisha's mother, Shamika Young, her stepfather, Antonio Wheeler, and her grandmother, Melissa Young, appeared on the Steve Wilkos show. In polygraph tests, they are asked, did you participate in any way in Relisha's disappearance? Both stepfather Antonio and grandmother Melissa answer no, and the polygraph results confirm that they were telling the truth. Relisha's mother, Shamika, refuses to take the polygraph test. There are a limited number of theories for what happened to Rudd because Tatum's suicide occurred shortly after the girl's disappearance. Authorities generally believe Relisha was murdered by Tatum or sold to sex traffickers. But the sex trafficking theory was dismissed by D.C. Metropolitan Police detectives. In an interview to the Washington Post, an officer suspected Tatum had sexually exploited the girl, and possibly others did the same, and may have killed his wife because she found out about his activities. Other theories are that Ricky Sheridan Lyles, who is Tatum's brother-in-law, may have participated in the crimes. Since Shamika Young stated on the Steve Wilkos show that Tatum was shot twice. Lyles foi questionado, mas eles o descartaram como não sendo pessoa de interesse. The case remains unsolved at the present moment.
Number 7.
Sapphire Wiggins, 23, disappeared in Atlantic City, New Jersey on October 17, 2014. At the time of her disappearance, Sapphire was dating an older man named Kevin Shelton, 50. Sapphire was reportedly very happy in their relationship and had told her family and friends that she wanted to marry him. There was a slight problem, though. Kevin was already married and he had 3 children by wife his of 30 years. It's unclear whether or not Sapphire was aware of this. Kevin is the last known person to have seen Sapphire before she disappeared. During the morning hours of October 18, 2014, Kevin spoke on the phone with his son, Eric. He told him that he was in trouble because things got out of hand. When Eric asked Kevin what he meant, Kevin said that he was going to jail for the next 10 to 15 years for domestic violence. Kevin made a few other phone calls that day, the last one being at 12:45 p.m. 15 minutes later, at 1 p.m., Kevin's wife found him hanged in her basement. He left behind a suicide note that contained loving messages for his wife and children, however there was no mention of Sapphire at all. Investigators have stated that they have basically solved Sapphire's case. They believe that Kevin killed Sapphire the night of her disappearance and then disposed of her body. Inside his beloved Porsche, investigators found blood belonging to Sapphire. Additionally, both Sapphire and Kevin's phone pings indicate that their phones were in the same place throughout the entire night of the 17th, in several different locations. Investigators have searched all of those areas and have found both a wig and a pair of sunglasses believed to have belonged to Sapphire, but Sapphire herself remains missing. According to lead detective Neil Kane, the fact that they have not recovered Sapphire's body does not hinder their belief that Kevin murdered her. In fact, when interviewed about the case, Detective Kane stated, "If Kevin Shelton was still alive, I think we could have prosecuted him without a body." Still, Sapphire's family members are hoping to finally locate her and bring some closure to this tragic ordeal. Anyone with information that could help the case is encouraged to Atlantic City Crime Stoppers at 609-652-1234.